the Good Ship Outtakes, where we're gonna go through every moving image ever made and objectively rank them best to worst. I'm joined by my great crew, Navigator Amelia. How you doing?
Arr.
First mate Joseph. What's going on in these shores? And Barrel Boy Jacob. What are you scrubbing?
You're supposed to be a leprechaun or something.
Look, I thought I'd commit, okay? I'm in the piratey mood. I wasn't in the piratey mood last week. I am this week. It's fine. So, if you're still watching after that, make sure to follow us on social media. Give us a like and a subscribe. At the Real Outtakes. So, yeah, this week we're doing Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest. Two things. Make sure you've watched the movie, because we're going to be spoiling it in full. You can check it out on Disney+, or if you have a home video, then you find it in your shelves. And two, we're going to be going back to 2006 to have a little look at what the world was like. So there was kind of like two release dates for this movie. One proper one in America, July 7th, and one like a week earlier in Disney. The actual premiere was in the Disney park. Which, I mean, it's based on a ride, so...
One as well, yeah.
Might as well. But I'm going to go through the actual cinema release. So, in the pop charts, oh my god, half my fucking Spotify is on this. So, number one, Lily Allen was Smiling. Number two, Shakira's Hips Were Not Lying. Number 11, What's That Coming Over the Hill? It's Automatic with Monster. Number 17, fuck a supermassive black hole, it's Muse. And number 18... Here come the fucking drums. Voodoo Child, Rogue Traders. That's like one of the best little collection of songs that we've had since we've started that. I honestly think it was really good. And over in the world of video games, it was a good year, 2006, with a little bit rocky in the month of July. The sequel to Lord of the Rings Battle of Middle-earth was coming out a day before Pirates of the Caribbean, and that's a really good game. And... two Dead Man's Chest tie-in games came out the week earlier for PSP and DS. I played the DS one. I don't think it was very good, but I enjoyed the heck out of it. So,
I think I played the DS one as well.
Grab yourself your best fucking bottle of rum. We're talking about Pirates of the Caribbean. Joe, take it away.
So,
nice.
Pirates of the Caribbean. Yeah. So, right, when Disney Plus came out, the first thing I watched was Treasure Planet, as stated last week. But watching that put me in, a somewhat of a piratey mood. So, I decided to, take the next step, and I rewatched the first Pirates of the Caribbean again, which put me in an incredibly piratey mood. So since then, I have rewatched all 5 Pirates of the Caribbean films, reread Treasure Planet, rewatched both versions of Treasure Planet on Disney+, wrote a script for a pirate short film, replayed Uncharted 4, and spent more time than I care to admit looking at the prices of pirate hats online. So,
you have an amazing way of managing your time.
Yeah.
Like, how have you got that all in? I don't even think I've had the time to wank more. There's been, like, fucking Pirates of the Caribbean movies, and you've done all that!
See, the thing is, though, right, we're inside all the time, aren't we? And I'm meant to be doing uni work, but instead, I'm not. So, I'm finding time to do piratey things instead. Managing my time, you know what I mean? I'm time managing my pirate stuff better than I did actual uni stuff, so...
Incredible.
There you go. My point is, I've spent the past week or so, being as obsessive pirate as I was when I was 8. So, when it came to picking this week's film, I knew it was going to be a Pirates of the Caribbean film. And Dead Man's Chest is my favourite, you know what I mean? It always has been, and it always will be. And I knew I was going to have to pick this one. So, as you can probably guess, I love these films. The last one, maybe not too much. But, as a franchise, fucking love them. I was telling you guys before, wasn't I, that I went as Jack Sparrow for 4 Halloweens in a row. and I went to multiple book days as Jack Sparrow in primary as well. And yeah, to justify going as Jack Sparrow, I took a book called The History of Pirates.
Nice.
And when she was like, yeah, that's not a book character, I was like, well, miss, I wanted to be a pirate, and the only costume I could find was this one. So that was my excuse.
Why do you take a non-fiction book rather than a fiction book? Right, it's World Book Day.
Yeah, I know.
Like
probably
stories and stuff.
Well, yeah, I could have took I could have took Treasure Island, but I didn't. And one year I did take, as I said before, the novelization of the films. But the first year I got away with it by taking the History of the Pirates. So it was a big book as well. It was like this big.
Imagine if they just said no. Go home, get changed.
Go on, get changed right now.
That is not a World Book Day character.
I can't imagine I would have been that bothered, you know. But,
who do you think he'd get away with just coming back in as? Like, if he had to come in as casual cause and claim he was someone.
Not me.
Yeah. Sabretooth.
What, me now?
You could come back, you could come back and say you were Sabretooth.
Like, right now, though, or like year 3 me?
I'm going to guess you didn't have the beard.
I did not know. I also had a shaved head.
Whoa!
Shaved head?
Kingpin.
Whoa.
There we are.
No, right. In my defense, the reason was... Actually, no, I don't think that was year 3. At some point in primary, I had a shaved head because we were going to Florida. And my mum was like, you're not going to want long hair when we go to Florida because it's hot. I'm like, all right. And then she actually used... I remember, I didn't want to get it cut. And she was like, I'll tell you what I'll do. If you go get your haircut now, I'll tell you something that I'll... What was it? Okay, right. This is before, bear in mind, this is before the internet and YouTube was such a big thing.
Right.
Especially in my life, right? So she was like, go get your haircut, and I'll show you the trailer for the new Pirates of the Caribbean film. And it just so happened to be at World's End. And it worked, and I was straight out the door in the car. I was like, come on, Dad, hurry up, let's go. I need to get my haircut so I can see Pirates of the Caribbean trailer. And she showed it to me, and I went, madness. I remember it was insane. I remember that day. It was a sunny day.
I liked these movies, but I can't say they've ever had the top tier influence power over me than they have over you.
They have. I can't express the impact these films have had on my life. Like, you know, when you're younger and you're obsessed with one particular thing.
Yeah.
That then comes to your whole. That's Pirates. Is that for me? And yeah, I just fucking love them. I love them so much. Anyway,
you just cry when you get on fucking the Pirates of the Caribbean in Florida. You just kind of like
honestly, when I go to Florida, I have to go on that ride at least 3 or 4 times, and I always do.
That's fair.
Because I just, oh man, I love it.
It's the same every time.
Every single time, just never changes. Like, I went on it after they made the changes where they added Jack Sparrow, so it's always been the same. Except more recently they've changed it and swapped some things around. But it's always been the same, and I fucking love it every single time I go on it. It's amazing. I love it so much. I have a poster for that ride in my living room, as I showed last week.
Yeah.
But, so, the other thing is as well, these films, I watched every single one of these films in the cinema, apart from the first one. And the only reason I didn't watch the first one is because I was 3 when it came out. So,
fair.
I don't think Mum and Dad thought it were appropriate for me to go watch it. But I've watched every single one since then, including Salazar's Revenge or Dead Man Tells No Tales if you're outside the UK. And the thing of it is, right, I was talking to Beth about it the other day, and if they announced tomorrow that they weren't making any more Star Wars, that was it, that's it, that we've had all the Star Wars we're ever going to get, I would be sad. But at the same time, I'd be like, right, okay, I mean, there's a lot.
We got a nice definitive ending.
Yeah. Exactly, yeah. Yeah, they can't make it any worse, so I don't want them to try, kind of situation. But if they announced they weren't making any more Pirates of the Caribbean films, I would actually be sad. Like, I actively want more Pirates of the Caribbean films. As bad as the last one was, I still want more.
Do you know what?
And I don't know what it is.
In a weird way, I think I agree with you. See, I actually, out of all the ones that I've watched, I've not seen 5. I actually only really liked the first 2. I was really disappointed in World's End. But there's something, and I can't. Maybe it's just what it did to me when I was a child, still kind of percolating in my head. But when I watch the ending of Dead Man's Chest, I get excited at the potential of what's coming next. Even though I know that what's coming next I thought was a bit wank, I like to imagine the version of it where it's like, oh, what's going to happen? They expanded the world so much in this movie, so rapidly, that I think I know some people will be against this, but I think feasibly you could make a Pirates of the Caribbean movie, not even have Jack Sparrow in it or reference him at all. Just use that world and its mythos and its tone, and still carry a really entertaining film that I would probably go and see.
Isn't that what they're planning on doing?
Yeah, I think so.
In the next one.
I think so. Yeah.
Of the whole Johnny Depp.
Well, yeah, I guess we should say it now, just so it's not hovering over the entire episode. I don't think we should comment on the ongoing personal lives of Johnny Depp or Amber Heard. It's a really, really messy situation. And I also don't think it's really anyone's business or in any way classy to try and gain political points by trying to say she was the worst or he was the worst. It's horrible, and I do think public figures should still probably have a private life.
Yeah.
And I think that's the last we should probably say about it.
Mm-hmm.
I still want him to be in Pirates of the Caribbean, though. With that said, I wouldn't mind him being Pirates of the Caribbean. But anyway,
I mean, if he was into it, because so the rumors go, he had an earpiece in doing the fifth one. He was just getting his lines fed to him. He was checked out. If he was actually into doing it, then sure. But if he's not interested, I don't want to watch it.
The fifth one is, you can tell that he's not got the same enthusiasm as he did.
Yeah.
The way he performs it, and I feel like it's not because he's bored of the character. I think it's because of what was going on around the time that he's not focusing on it as much as he did. Because it's not that he hates the character or he's bored of the character, because he loves the character. He has the tattoo. You know the tattoo he has in the first one of the sparrow? He actually has that tattoo on his arm. And he always goes to like hospitals dressed as the well, I don't know if he still does, but he does, doesn't he? And he goes on the ride, and he does the thing where he jumps out of people. That video of him on
the ride? It's well good.
Like he loves the character so much, and it wouldn't surprise me if he still wants to play him. I just think because of what was going on at this particular time,
yeah, you might be right.
Just maybe wasn't because you can tell there's something when he plays the character in the newest one, then it's not all there. But there's something else about the newest one that really pisses me off, but I'm going to get into that later. But before we start the actual film, I'm going to briefly talk about the first one. So obviously in 2003, Disney blessed us with Pirates of the Caribbean: Curse of the Black Pearl, which was a pirate film based on the popular ride of the same name in Disneyland.
That still blows my mind that they made a film out of a ride which essentially is just, look, you're in the pirates' land and what they do. Yeah. Like, okay, bye. That's it. Like,
well, I mean, aren't they bringing out Thingy this year? I don't know if it's this year anymore, but they were bringing out a ride based on the Jungle Cruise with
with the Rock.
Film,
yeah.
It looks shit. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it looks like they tried
most of the Disney ride movies look pretty terrible. Like, Haunted Mansion, remember that? That was bad. How many fucking... Isn't Witch Mountain a ride? How many fucking Escape to Witch Mountain movies has there been? Like 6?
It's not a ride, but it was one that they created back in like the 70s.
Yeah.
It's definitely not a ride.
Out of all of them, I'm trying to think which ones, how many there's been. There's been quite a few.
Tomorrowland
this one is...
Technically,
that's not based on
I actually didn't mind that. That's like a...
Did not like Tomorrowland.
Did you know? I didn't mind it. It was fine.
I went to the cinema to go
I like
watch
the
it.
aesthetic of it. I watched it on the plane while heading to Florida, so Anyway, obviously, they did not expect this film, the first film, to do well, because people aren't really into pirates anymore, and especially when Treasure Planet came out, while they were filming the first Pirates of the Caribbean, and that did not do well. I can't imagine it filled them with enthusiasm about this one.
No, it did not. I mean, because apparently, wasn't the whole thing, they didn't want to make a Pirates movie, they thought it was going to do badly. Treasure Planet kind of confirmed it, but there was all that stuff that, because it would have been Cat Singer, wouldn't it, that was in charge at the time.
I think so, yeah.
And he wanted, he wanted like Hugh Jackman to play Jack Sparrow, didn't he? He wanted a very traditional Pirates of Penzance style heroic pirate. And Will Turner kind of ends up filling that role for comedy.
Yeah. That's why when they were writing the script, they wrote it with Hugh Jackman in mind, and that's why he's called Jack Sparrow, because it's Hugh Jackman. Apparently, that's one of the reasons he's called Jack. But yeah, obviously, like we said, they didn't think it was going to do well. But Curse of Black Pearl premiered in Disneyland on the 28th of June in 2003, and in its domestic opening, it made around $46.5 million, which it's not. I mean, that's just opening weekend though, and when the budget is $140 million for the first one, so opening weekend it did pretty well, I would say. But right, does anyone want to make a guess how much the first film made in its lifetime since 2003?
Wow. So that's including like DVD sales up until now.
That's what it's as of right now. Yeah,
I think it's a lot.
I'll tell you,
500 million.
Yeah, I was gonna go like 600 million.
Massive amount.
No bloody clue. Okay. I'm gonna go 700 higher.
Okay, so you're way up.
Oh, okay.
It didn't do that well. It did well, but it didn't do that well. So in its lifetime, it made $305,419,918. And
see, there's a good chance, like, you're probably reading that number, but there's a good chance,
I am,
knowing your love of Pirates of the Caribbean, you've memorized that.
No, I knew that it was up there. I knew it was around the 300 mark, but I did go on to the thing to find the exact number. And then I had to Google how to say that number because I was like, fucking what? No idea how to do it. So now that's written down. But on the list of highest grossing films of all time, it sits at number 85. So above it is Independence Day. And a little bit further above it, at 82, is Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End. So it's out of... So the three first films, I think, are all in the top 100 highest grossing films of all time. I think.
Surprised me.
I'm not sure about.
I mean, I remember.
I think that just misses it.
At least when I was in school, there wasn't a kid that hadn't seen them. Everyone had seen Pirates of the Caribbean. At least where I came from, the mania was mad.
See, for us, it was everyone had seen it, but everyone knew how much I loved it. So it was like I became the pirate kid. Everyone knew me. Like we had this other kid who was obsessed with Doctor Who, and he loved that. And he was like the Doctor Who kid.
That was me back in primary school.
Well, especially in year 4 and 5. I don't know why I'm remembering those 2 years in particular. Especially, I think that's probably around the time when the films were coming out, so that's probably why. But around those times, I was known as the guy who really everyone. If people wanted to know about pirates, they would come to me, and I'd be like, "Don't worry, son, I got you."
I don't know if you
sort them out with some pirate knowledge.
Remember this or have had this, but I want to try and take you down on a memory thing. If you had it, Joe, when a little bit after this movie came out, or maybe just as this movie came out, did you have ever it was a replica of Davy Jones's chest that was about this big, and it opened up into a Pirates of the Caribbean playset. It was like Tortuga in the ocean, and you got ships and stuff.
I had that.
I didn't have it, but I remember having it.
It was fucking awesome. Yeah.
I had lots of Pirates of the Caribbean stuff, but that was not one. I had
the compass as well.
So the thing, I had the compass. Yeah. So the thing what I had was I had the action figures. They more came out when it was at World's End.
Yeah,
I had the action figures. Lots of Christmas.
We just found it, Amelia.
We had this. This is the one I fully remember. This.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. I remember that. I wish I had it. I really wanted it, but I never had it.
There's a small chance, unless it got chucked out, that it's still at my childhood home. And if it is, next time I get to go back over, I'll bring it. It's well good.
Oh, man. I mean, I remember seeing it and wanting it, but I never got it. But I remember one Christmas, literally all I got was Pirates of the Caribbean stuff. So I got a crap ton of action figures. I got the actual Black Pearl playset. For the action figures, I remember my nan, she got me this particular set from Costco, and it was every single Dead Man Chest Mega Block set that they made.
I was just about to say, did you have the Mega Box?
Yeah.
What the
I
hell?
had all of them.
I had one of the Mega Blocks. Do you remember they did those it was kind of like a mystery box, the skulls? Yeah. I had one of them.
I had all of those. I had both. In that thing, I had the Flying Dutchman and I had the Black Pearl. I had... Well, not anything. Just... That one, I don't think I had that... No, because they re-released them all again when they made At World End. So, I had the Dead Man's Chest version. And I had all the different...
So we had that looked like his thing?
Yeah, I had that.
Yeah. That was well cool.
I had... Oh, man, I was obsessed. I loved it. And then, when Lego... I remember when Lego announced that they were making Pirates of the Caribbean sets... I was a little older. I think whenever year that was, I was in high school by this point. I still had it there. I was still I'd been waiting for these sets for a very long time. So I got myself a few of them. Couldn't tell you where they are now, but they're somewhere. They exist.
I'm getting the slight sense that Jacob, you were deprived of Pirates of the Caribbean merch.
I was not a pirate kid. Not at all.
Insane.
Oh
man.
Yeah, I had some pirate stuff when I was little, toddler little. This is just a generic pirate, and I had a generic pirate costume or something maybe. But when Pirates of the Caribbean came out, I was much more sci-fi based.
Oh man, I bet you bullied the pirate kids in your school. You little pirates, you little nerd.
Well, we found common ground over Treasure Planet, so.
Okay, fair enough. I'll give you that one. Fair enough. But obviously, like I said, yeah. So, Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl was, number 85. But what we're going to do is, we're going to jump way up to number 27 on that list, to Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Man's Chest.
Wow.
Which is way at the top, and has done considerably better than all of the other ones.
Nice.
So, in its lifetime, it's made... Right, let's see if I can get this number. Where is it? So, its lifetime, it's made $423,315,812.
That's crazy.
So
it's a considerable amount of money.
It's a lot of money. It's a lot.
A lot of pirate booty.
Hey,
oh yeah, 100%. Hey. And the domestic opening, it made around 135 million. So, 135.5 million. So it made considerably more than the first one did. But it still didn't make half its budget. No, hold on. No, I suppose it did. The budget for this one was considerably higher. So the budget for the first one was 140 million. The budget for Dead Man's Chest was 225 million. So they really bumped it up there. But they did well. I think Disney profited pretty well from this film.
Yeah.
But yeah. So right, let's have a look. So yeah. So as soon as the first film did well. They greenlit. Fucking hell.
Have you had quite a lot of this rum, Joe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
To be fair, I'm getting a little bit worried. I don't know at what level my full rum bottle was at the start of this, but it's already gone down quite a lot. So if I start to get pissed during this,
mine's not too bad. I haven't got a cup though, so I'll have to drink it straight out of the bottle, pirate style.
Do it.
Nice.
Take the cork out of your mouth and spit it away.
Oh my
For me,
god.
it froze on him deep throating it.
That hurts so much.
That was a sight.
I can't believe
the burn.
You did it.
Oh god, it's burnt.
Oh
True
man.
pirate.
I was going to say, he's a pirate.
Badass thing I've ever seen.
No, I remember the first time I ever had a sip of rum, and I went to this festival thing with my parents, and it was cold, and my dad was like, "Hey, this will warm you up." It's and I was like, "Oh, what is it?" And it was it's rum, and I was like, "Oh my god, like pirates." And he was like, "Yeah, like pirates." So I had a sip of it, and oh my god, it tasted minging. And it burnt my throat so bad, and I was dying. And then my mum was like, "What's up with him?" My dad's like, "Nothing. I think he just swallowed something around. Don't worry about it."
I think your dad would be bullying you for liking pirates at this point. My kid's a pirate kid.
Oh man, probably. Anyway, yeah. So they greenlit the sequel, but they didn't just greenlight one film. They greenlit two, and because of that, they actually filmed Dead Man's Chest and At World's End back to back, which is why there's only like a year difference between the two. Longest year of my life that was, I'll tell you. But as for the story, they knew they were going to make. As for the story for Dead Man's Chest, they knew they were going to be making a trilogy. So they decided what they needed to do was they needed to take things from the first film and use them in the story, so that it didn't seem like there was one and then 2 and 3. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they felt like one big sequel. So obviously they took a few things. So for example,
you can tell. I think it's movies like this that's a reason why we're all obsessed with like the format of Marvel movies now. It's just this idea that you watch one movie and then it's fine. That was a movie. Just move on with your life. And then another movie down the line, suddenly an element from that movie comes back, and you're like, "Whoa, that was!" It doesn't really matter how much substance that thing has. You're just like, "Oh my god, it's that thing that I remember." Whoa!
Yeah, well, that's the thing, isn't it?
Movies like this,
with this one. Well, yeah, like with this one, you normally in pirate films, because the thing that attracted Johnny Depp to the Pirates of the Caribbean was that it was so different from traditional pirate stuff. So instead of them out trying to find treasure, they were trying to return the treasure back to where they found it. So because there's like a curse or whatever, and he loved that element to it, and he loved that the whole cliche of there being like a muni and a marooning had already happened, and that you get in the aftermath of that. He loved that that was the twist, and that's what the first one was going for. And then you'd say the same with this one, because normally you watch a pirate film and they help the pirate escape, and then there doesn't seem to be any consequences. Whereas in this film, it literally starts with the consequences of letting a pirate escape.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of the difference. You get that kind of real life. But speaking of that particular bit, the East Indian Trading Company was introduced in this film, who are mentioned a few times in the first film, and they give Jack his signature, kind of like the P on his arm, which the East India Company actually did in real life, but they did it on the forehead, not the arm. So if you were branded a pirate, you were branded a pirate on your head. It was ridiculous.
Badass.
It is wild. Like that company, IRL, that company basically was the British Empire.
Yeah. I was gonna, when I was writing the thing for today, I planned on throwing lots of pirate trivia in between as we were saying the film, but then I got halfway through the film and realised I was on page 20, so I cut it all out.
Oh my god!
Because I have
perhaps one day we'll have to do like a director's cut version of this.
Maybe, yeah. So I cut it out. So mostly I'm just talking about the film. But I do have a few things here and there. So one of the things I have was about the East Indian Trading Company. In real life, it wasn't actually called the East Indian Trading Company. It was called just the East Indian Company. And they didn't really spend much time in the Caribbean, as they spent a lot of the time, in the Eastern Indies, India, kind of the coast of Africa, things like that. But they did spend... They had some presence in the Caribbean. But... one well-known piece of their history, and kind of their involvement in catching pirates, and this is the biggest one. I think this is really cool. It's from a heist that took place in 1695, and if you played the Uncharted 4, you'll probably know about this heist. It's the Gunsway heist. So essentially, what happened was pirate captain Henry Avery teamed up with a few pirates, and they attacked an Indian fleet, and they got away with between 300,000 and 600,000 pounds, but that's in 1695.
That's a lot of money for then.
So that's how much it was worth then. So now it's estimated the treasure would be worth around tens of millions of pounds. It would be a lot of money, and obviously that's what they go looking for in Uncharted 4. Anyway, England kicked off about that, and they set up a bounty on the pirate, on Avery's head, and it was £500, as well as a pardon to anyone who give them information. But then the East Indian Trading Company got themselves involved and doubled the bounty, and this is kind of what this film uses as an example. So the kind of, especially in the next film, because at World's End starts with them hanging the pirates, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And they all start singing and stuff like that. So that's kind of that was inspired by the aftermath of the Gunsway heist. The whole thing, it was actually the first ever worldwide manhunt that ever began. So Avery was a wanted man, and everyone bloody wanted his neck and his money. But yeah, anyway, there you go. There's some history about the East India Company. Let's get back on track. Anyway, so the film. So before we actually start talking about the film itself, I want to ask everyone, what do they think of the title? Not the Pirates of the Caribbean title, but the Dead Man's Chest bit. Like, what does everyone think about it?
To the point.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Interesting.
You know what you're getting.
Does anyone know what the Dead Man's Chest is?
It's a chest that contains Davy Jones's heart. That's what it literally is in the movie.
Yeah,
Or is it his actual chest?
No, it is very literal, the dead man's chest. But that's not the reason they picked it for the film. There is a reason,
an actual
because
thing?
Yeah, so Dead Man's
Merchandise
Chest.
sales.
I probably should have Googled this and made sure my facts are right. Because it's been a while, but if I'm remembering it right, what it was, so Dead Man's Chest it's got a bit of a layer to it, so it's a song, essentially, which does appear in this film, and you all know the song. It's the song that goes,
Yo ho ho
15 men on a dead man's chest, yo ho and a bottle of rum, exactly. The song's called Dead Man's Chest. And the song is sung by Gibbs at the beginning of this film, and it very first appeared, it wasn't an actual pirate song. I'm unfortunately, I'm sorry to say, pirates didn't actually sing the song. It was invented and written by, one sec, I've got his name somewhere. Yeah, Robert Louis Stevenson. He wrote it for Treasure Island. And he wrote it based on actual pirate stuff. So, 50 men on a dead man's chest
were a thing.
Yeah. So, the term 50 men on a dead man's chest is literal 15 men sat on an island called... There's an island, I think it's in the British Virgin Islands, and the island's called Dead Chest Island because there's kind of like folklore around it that pirates would leave people on the island as kind of like a death sentence. And it got its name because it's made up of two rocks. It's very small, made up of two rocks that look like a rib cage. And the folklore of the area is that pirates would leave the people on the island as a death sentence because there was no fresh water, no trees for shade, and like basically no vegetation. So you'd be sat just you'd just be sat in the sun, like bacon until you died.
Like where Jack gets left in the first movie.
Yes, but without the trees. Yeah.
Right.
And obviously, so it was literally just a patch of land. And there's some people that say around that time, the island would have been so low that the waves just washed straight over it as well. So it was a horrible place to be left, essentially. But that's where Stevenson got the idea for Dead Man's Chest, and and then it leads then to him writing the song, and then the song leads to the title of the film, which is also quite literal. I can imagine them thinking of the title, having made the story already, and being like, "Oh shit, man, that's such a perfect title for this film, literally Dead Man's Chest." But yeah, there you go. Some evidence. Not evidence, what am I on about? Some background on the title. So, let's get into the actual film.
Sick.
Obviously we open on the wedding of Will Turner and Elizabeth Swann, or the failed wedding of Will Turner and Elizabeth Swann. It's raining, all the cups are getting wet, and Elizabeth is sat in the rain in a wedding dress, looking all sad. Then we get some dramatic shots of the East Indian Trading Company sailing over to Port Royal and raiding the town. They go to arrest Will, and while they're arresting Will, Beckett comes over to get Elizabeth. So obviously they gather around, don't they, and Beckett gets out a warrant for the arrest of Will and Elizabeth. As for one, for Norrington as well. And turns out the arrest is because they helped Jack Sparrow escape the noose at the end of the last film. And because of this, they will also be executed. Then we cut to the Black Pearl, where Mr. Gibbs is singing the Treasure Island song that I mentioned before. And then we head over to the terrifying Turkish prison, which, legit scared me when I watched this in the cinema.
Do you remember? Do you remember in the DS game you got to play the events leading up to Jack getting in the coffin?
You play like him escaping and stuff, don't you? Getting the key and stuff. It was, it was scary. But that bit in this film where the crow pecks out the guy's eye, that well scared me.
Yeah.
First time
watching that again, fucking brutal. Surprised that this is just a 12, isn't it?
It's 12, yeah. I always forget how dark the openings of Pirates of the Caribbean movies are. The tone is always way low.
It's madness. The bit he's being dragged along the floor and all his feet are bloody and shit. It's well great. But yeah, anyway, elsewhere on the shore, the guards are throwing the coffins in the sea, and we follow one of these coffins until a crow starts pecking on top. Suddenly the crow explodes and Jack emerges from inside, and he uses a decomposing leg to roll away. Just as that classic Pirates of the Caribbean tune kicks in, that we all know and love. Beautiful. So Jack climbs aboard the Pearl once more, and he's confronted by his crew. They find out that, they tell us that the Isla de Muerte from the first film had been reclaimed by the sea, and all the treasure is still in that cave, and the Royal Navy chased them all over the Atlantic, and the crew's feeling somewhat unhappy about the lack of honest pirating they've been doing.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so Jack the monkey steals Jack the human's piece of cloth, which he went into the Turkish prison to get.
It's a key.
Runs off with it. Yeah, he gets the key and he opens up, and obviously it's a key. He's like, it's much more better. It's a drawing of a key. I actually, fun fact for you, when I went to thingy as Jack Sparrow, World Book Day, I did have a piece of paper with the key drawn on in my belt, so I was very.
This is dedication. Sad.
I full on. I remember having to be told by the teacher in year 4 that I had to leave all my weapons inside at playtime.
So did I! I did as well!
Because I had the sword and I had a gun as well.
Yeah.
And a dagger and everything. And she's like, right, Joe, you're gonna have to leave your weapons inside. And I was like, but miss, we're gonna play Pirates of the Caribbean. How can I be stabbing people without...
It was literally like at my school, I was literally held back just at the very end before dinner time, and it was like a real your gun and your badge now. That's what it felt like.
Yeah. It was insane, and I hated it, and I was like, oh, it was so boring. But it's fine. But yeah, I had the piece of paper.
While we're on the topic of this, I mean, it could come up at any point in the movie. I love the way Jack Sparrow speaks. I love the way his dialogue is written.
See, the thing I like about him is everyone else is really British, aren't they? But he's not. And it's because obviously he's meant to have been born in the Caribbean. But he kind of has this weird, not English but not American accent. It's somewhere in the middle.
Yes.
He says some words with American accent, but then says it with English, and it's... Because obviously his dad's played by... Oh shit, what's his name?
Is it the guy from the Rolling Stones?
I think it might be.
Mick Jagger?
I think it is. No, it's not. It's not Mick Jagger. I thought it was Mick Jagger. Keith Richards, that's it. Because that's who Johnny Depp based the character of Jack Sparrow on originally. So they got him to play his dad. And Thingy plays his uncle in the newest film. The guy from the Beatles. Who's not dead.
Ringo.
No, the other one.
Paul McCartney.
Paul McCartney plays his uncle in the last in Salazar's Revenge. It's really not a good scene.
What?
But it's a cameo.
Seeing Ed Sheeran in Game of Thrones just completely takes you out of it.
Well, literally, he's just a scene. It's such a pointless bit.
Jack.
He's being carried down this thing, and the guy tells the guards to stop because someone under arrest can do that. Yeah, there he is. And he just talks to him through the bars for like a minute, and then they move on, and that's it. It never appears again. It's a pure cameo. Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
It's mad.
Weird.
It's insane. Anyway, obviously Jack consults his compass, doesn't he? He gets a heading. Well, gives them a heading, but gives them Marty, or they're a bit wary of the whole thing because something's spooked Jack. Back in Port Royal, Beckett makes a deal with Will in exchange for his and Elizabeth's release. They shall be free if Will returns with Jack's compass. Jack, meanwhile, he's trying to find a heading, isn't he? He's doing his map and shit. And after noticing, the rum is always gone, he heads below deck to get more, where he finds Bootstrap Bill Turner, Will's dad. What's weird as well? The guy who plays Bootstrap. He's the guy from Mamma Mia. How mad is that?
It's Skarsgård.
It's Thor's mate.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not
Weird,
Eric,
that, isn't it?
it's Stellan or something.
Stellan,
yeah. Isn't Eric the one in? Which is the one that's in it? I know it's his son, but one of them plays Pennywise in it.
Yeah, it is. It's the younger one.
Yeah, I can't remember what his name is. Is it Eric? No, he's in
Bill
Deadpool
Skarsgård.
too.
Isn't it just Bill?
It's Bill.
Eric's is his character's name in Thor. That's what I'm basing most of my actor knowledge on.
Oh,
I
right.
would be surprised if one of his kids is called Eric. It's a very Scandinavian. Have a look.
Yeah, I mean, anyway, we meet Bill's dad, don't we? And he's being all gross. He's covered in like sea stuff.
Stuff.
He eats that
coral.
That
urchins,
coral,
starfish.
and,
I love how when he opens his mouth initially, it like water just streams out.
Yeah,
like in that
really
Doctor Who episode on Mars.
Like in the Doctor Who episode on Mars.
Oh,
yeah,
man, remember that?
What was a Mars
episode?
Man. But anyway, so they have a chat, don't they? And we find out that Jack made a deal with Davy Jones, and Jones basically raised the Black Pearl from the depths of the ocean and allowed Jack to be captain of it for 13 years, at which point, once the 13 years were up, he would then have to join Jones's crew.
See, this is the exact fucking thing I mean about, like, they blow this world open so fast. Yeah. I love it. I really love it.
And then obviously the other thing as well is we get Bootstrap tells him that Jones has already released the Kraken, and that it hunts anyone with the black spot, doesn't it? So he gives him the black spot, which was also invented for Treasure Island, and pirates did not actually give each other the black spot, which is a sad revelation. But the other thing as well is they gave it on a piece of paper, like they do in Treasure Island. No, hold on, they didn't. They put it in the Treasure Island. It's on a piece of paper, but it's based on the real life thing that pirates would do, where if someone was, the crew wasn't liking someone or whatever, or someone planned to kill someone, they would give him an ace of spades, like the card. They give him one of them, and that was
that's
kind of
fucking
like
cool. That seems kind of meta.
Yeah, like they would give him one of them, and that's how you know that you'd be dying. But in this, it's the black spot's much cooler. The black spot in real life is a plant disease, so there you go. Obviously, panicked by it, Jack wakes up his crew, tells them to travel to the nearest land, but then not before that bloody monkey throws his hat into the off the ship. Hat floats away, and it's get picked up by like two Turkish fishermen. Or they're putting the hat on, and then the Kraken comes and like chomps up the ship and dead.
If you allow me to be a dick for half a second, what's the in-universe reason for why the Kraken just chomped up this ship all in one, but has to attack all the others?
It's because it's convenient to the plot. So
good answer.
Nice.
They suggest, don't they, that it's because it's his hat. And I love this movie. There's always plot holes. Little, even if they're tiny, there's always plot holes with all movies. And one would be in this that in the previous scene he gives him the black spot, doesn't he? And that's the reason he's chasing after him. Yeah. And it would suggest that the reason it's attacked the ship is because his hat's there. But he's really the Black Pearl's really not that far away from where the ship is.
Yeah, no.
So it should really come after the Black Pearl as well, considering if it's based on scent, I imagine the actual man himself would have a stronger scent than his hat would. But I don't know. Anyway, yeah, they chomp up the ship. And we go back to Port Royal. Where Will visits Elizabeth and tells her about the deal with Becca, and the governor's like, I don't have no faith in you, bitch. But it's fine, he goes off. And we get that little montage of Will asking all different people about Jack. They all find different information. He's in Singapore. He's in, I don't know, Tortuga or whatever. The bit where you get the woman slapping across the face. Homage to the other film. Classic. And
I kind of like the weird change in like shot type for this sequence. Apart from the women in Tortuga, the way it's kind of like, I don't know, how would you... It's kind of like an interview, isn't it? It's weird. It's like Will's POV. Yeah, it's really weird. The one, the thing with the last one as well, he ends, doesn't he? He ends by asking the guy about Jack, and he says he doesn't know what Jack is, but he spotted the Black Pearl on the shore of an island where he trades spices for delicious long pork. Does anyone know what long pork is?
Is it pulled pork?
It's not.
It doesn't quite rip, just like I keep pulling it and it just keeps getting longer.
Is it drugs?
It's not drugs.
Okay.
I know what it means. I googled it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's no
fun. So long pork is an old-fashioned way, an old-fashioned term for human flesh. So he's trading spices for human flesh. And as we know, obviously the people on the island are, cannibals as well. So it makes sense. But yeah, I didn't realise. When he said long pork, I literally thought he meant, pork that is long. Or long strips of pork, but no, it's human flesh. So, anyway, they go to that island and Will finds the pearl. And he's taken ashore, but the sailor refuses to go anywhere near the island. So Will swims over and he gets captured by cannibals. And they take him before the chief. And the chief is Jack. And another fact about my going to World Book Days and Halloween's dressed as Jack Sparrow. One year I did actually do the thing. I did the thing with the eyes, yeah. I did it.
Do
commitment
photos of these costumes exist?
I know one of them exists of me in the costume when I very first got it. I don't know if any other costume, because I dressed up as him so much. I feel like my mum was like,
"Oh, it's just Tuesday."
Yeah, literally. I put the costume on whenever I could. So I know there is one of me somewhere dressed as him, but it wasn't before I added all my own stuff. Because originally I remember the costume came with the hat, came with the wig, came with the costume, but it came with this really shitty, foam sword that I hated. And then I went to Disney on Ice, which had pirates section in the one that I watched. And they were selling pirate swords, so I got one. And I attached it to a belt. And I had an actual belt around me, and I could pull it out the thing, and it was fucking amazing. And I also got an extra thing to go around my waist, so I could stick my gun in the bandolier thing. I even got a Pirates of the Carribean bandolier, headband thing to go around my hair. Oh,
you have to find this picture though.
I know there's got to be a picture of it somewhere. I bet my nan has one. Man, what a time that was. Anyway,
I love how much you're into this. It's genuinely infectious.
I love it. I love it so much. I was gonna buy if quarantine wasn't going on. I full on would have bought something like a hat or something to wear for this episode, because I want a pirate hat more than anything in the world. I just want to be a pirate. This is
the time to do it. What
I want to be a pirate.
This is just Amazon Prime, still running. Really, day one.
They only bring stuff that's essential though. So
they don't.
They don't.
Do they not?
They don't.
They bring everything.
My partner got hair dye today. I got a new fucking Transformer the other day.
Oh, well, there you go then. That means pirate hats coming my way.
Would you? Because when you say that, all I can imagine is you on your balcony with one leg up on one of the rungs and the other one on the floor with the pirate hat, looking off into the distance. Yeah, literally.
I have the thingy. I have the hair. My hair is really long now because I've not had it cut in months. So I've got the hair. I've got the beard. I'll ding in my beard. I'll be like Captain Captain Joe.
I feel like if I do move
Joe.
over anywhere near you, all I'm going to do is wake up in the morning, look out the balcony, and see you in the distance, like you said.
You'll just look down.
Please take pictures if that is the case.
I'll wave and I'll shout ahoy. That'll be how I greet everyone in the morning.
Land
I'll be
ahoy!
a pirate. Oh man, pirates, I love them. Anyway, what was I up to? Yeah, so cannibals.
Will's just got there, and Jack's the
So
thing.
Jack's the chief, and he tells him. Well, he doesn't. He tries to tell him about Elizabeth, and Jack tells his cannibal people to put Will with the rest of the crew.
They also tell his cannibal people that Will is a eunuch.
He does, yeah. It's a joke from the first film, isn't it? Where he says like, "Are you a eunuch?" And when they're fighting in his in the blacksmith shop, and it's Well, no, what does he do though? He says like snippy snippy or
Snippy
something
snippy,
like
yeah.
that.
Do you know what? I don't know, legit. I don't know if I like Orlando Bloom in this movie or not. I think I do. He's not good in it, but he's hamming it up so hard that I think I love it.
The thing that he's very over dramatic, isn't he?
Yeah.
Everything he says is very dramatic, the way he says it. And I mean, it's weird because I can't see anyone else playing the role.
Oh, no, neither can I. That just is what Will Turner's like.
Even in the new one, because obviously Will and Elizabeth appear in the newest one, he still plays it with that kind of, dramatic. Like, there's a bit where he tells his son to, stop trying to find him or whatever. And he's like, go home. Go look after your mother. And it's really dramatic. And it's
go look after your mother. That's how he would say it.
Yeah, literally. That's how he does say it. It's very dramatic. Anyway, so... Oh, God, I keep losing where I am. Yeah, it tells Will... so, obviously Jack asks Will to save him, doesn't he?
Yes.
And you get this kind of sense that something's going on. Back in Port Royal, Governor Swan attempts to save Elizabeth, but the captain whose ship she's meant to escape on is killed by Mr. Mercer, and Elizabeth escapes and goes to confront Beckett. She steals the letters of marque, but they need Beckett's signature and seal to make them valid. I'll tell you, right? I want to be, if I ever be so successful that I have lots of money and I have to sign lots of documents all the time, I want to I want to actually get a ring with a symbol on and the wax stuff and stamp all my documents like they used to do. I love it so much.
It must be so inconvenient. Imagine people can photocopy it or send it off to something. It's just this awkward waxy seal and stamp just on the bottom.
That'll be my signature instead. Oh no, because I remember my auntie's wedding was earlier this year, and she closed she put all the invitations in the in envelopes, but she closed the envelope instead of just licking the thing. She closed it with a seal, and it was the coolest thing. I was like, I didn't want to open it. I knew what it was, so I was just kind of don't want to open it, but I had to. But it was really cool. It was her own seal as well that she designed herself. So cool. Anyway. So obviously, Beckett informs us that Jack's compass doesn't just lead to the island of Muerta, like the first film suggests. And she forces him to sign the documents anyway, and she leaves. And we go back to the Cannibal Island, and Pintel and Rigetti arrive in, and they steal the Black Pearl back for themselves after escaping jail. And the rest of the crew are hanging in the bone cages. And Gibbs tells Will that the cannibals believe Jack is a god trapped in human form, and that they plan to cook him and eat him as a way to set him free. So they devise a plan to escape and start swinging from side to side. And they end up climbing up the mountain and rolling off the side of the hill and escaping. At the same time, Jack is devising his own plan by running off.
I have questions about this sequence. About most of the sequences. So a lot of this movie is these really dramatic big set pieces. And they're great fun. They're what I remembered and loved the most as a kid. They really feel like concepts for rides.
Yeah.
Does anyone know? This might just be me speculating. Does anyone know if there was like plans to expand Pirates of the Caribbean? Maybe it's into its own entire area in Disney and do rides based off of these set pieces.
So, as far as I'm aware, there's no plans that are public knowledge of that.
Yeah.
They did, after the first film came out, they changed the ride story. Originally, the ride was just that pirates are attacking this random port, and then they ransack it, and it becomes what inspired Tortuga at the end. And they're all singing, and they're in the cages and stuff. But then when the first film came out, kids were asking where Jack Sparrow was, so they swapped it around, and they made it the story of Barbossa coming to the port looking for Jack, and all these pirates are looking for Jack. And they just replaced some animatronics with Jack's likeness. That's the only kind of... Other than there's a Pirates of the Caribbean ride in Shanghai's Disney that is based entirely on the film. Yeah, it's brand new. It uses all the newest technology to make the rides, and it's based entirely on these films.
I'll find the link and I'll send it to you guys. Honestly, it's insane.
It's insane. It's all in... I can't remember what language.
I think it's in Mandarin.
Is it in Mandarin?
Is that why there's all those Chinese ships in the third one? Was that when it happened?
So no. So it happened. It only opened recently, like 2-3 years ago. It opened around the same time as like Salazar's Revenge and shit like that. But the reason that they're in the third one is because, well, they got to Singapore, don't they? And one of the pirate captains in the Brethren Court is a captain called Mistress Cheng. This is something. The woman who's like,
yeah,
she's in the thing. She's based on a real pirate because there was a lot of piracy around those parts as well as in the Caribbean. So that's the reason. But anyway, yeah. So they break out, don't they? They get away. All parties escape and make it to the Black Pearl, and Jack gets chased by the cannibals down the beach, and we get that bit. I used to love all the little bits in this film. Like the bit where he's hanging on the side and he's like, remember this is the day that you almost caught, and then the wave goes, psh. It's fucking amazing. I laughed so hard in the cinema when I watched that.
The kebab bit with Jack still got me this time round. You know, when they're lobbing all the fucking fruit on him. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're all on the stick and he gets like caught in the thing. And he falls down. Oh, man. What a film this is. I fucking love it. But yeah, so they escape, don't they? And the ship's already in the water, and Jack, escapes. And Will tells him of him and Elizabeth's arrest. But Jack convinces him that the only way to save Elizabeth is to find the key that's on the piece of cloth that he got from Turkish prison. And the only way to find that key is... Well, the only way to find out where that key is they have to go see Teodolma. Obviously, meanwhile, Elizabeth's stowed away on a ship, and all the men find a dress, and they believe it's like a cursed dress. So in Teodolma's shack, she tells us that she tells us what the dead man's chest is. So Davy Jones was an honest sailor, but one day he fell in love with a woman, and the pain of being apart from her was too much, so he cuts out his heart and puts it in her chest. And the key is the key to said chest, and Davy Jones always keeps it on him in the Flying Dutchman. So, right. Remember I said before that there's a bit about Salazar's Revenge that really pisses me off? Right, has anyone seen the fifth film?
No. But spoiler, I do not think anyone cares.
Right, there's a scene in the film. So the whole thing of it is Salazar is this guy that Jack wronged when he was younger, and there's a scene in the film with a CGI young Jack.
Yes, I've heard about this.
Yeah. And in the scene, we find out that the reason the Salazar's dead is because Jack did his trick and he cheated and he's a pirate or whatever, and he ended up tricking Salazar into selling some rocks. But there's two things wrong with this particular flashback. The flashback's like 5 minutes long, and it tells me that the people who wrote this film have not seen Dead Man's Chest. Because in this scene with Teodolma, she says that she bartered with Jack and gave him the compass.
Yes.
And it's her magic that makes it so that it, takes him to wherever he wants to go, or what he wants most. And we also know from this film that Davy Jones raised the Black Pearl from the depths, right? This flashback in Salazar Revenge, what's the word? Where
Retcon.
they go back on themselves. It retcons both of those points.
That's a shame.
So the flashback starts with Jack being given the compass by a dying pirate, who tells him that it leads him to what he wants most. So that's the first one, already messed up. And the second thing is, this particular scene, which is definitely more than 13 years before, because he's he's meant to be 20 in this particular flashback. They are on the Black Pearl in this flashback. It's not called the Black Pearl, and there's one shot that has a name on the back of the ship that tells it something else, but it is 100% the Black Pearl. And it could be argued that the ship sank and then Davy Jones brought it back up. But saying that,
what? Not that I'm interested in defending this movie that I didn't see and don't care about. What's the context of the flashback? Because could you argue potentially that there is a bit of unreliable narrator? There's that whole fucking Pirates of the Caribbean video game, which is Jack unreliably narrating the first movie, and there's a dragon in it.
So, the context of it is that Salazar just wants to kill Jack because he's the one who trapped him and killed him, whatever.
But why do we see the flashback?
Because Salazar is telling it to Barbossa.
So that could be unreliable narrator.
But the thing with saying that is, though, and with also saying that it could have sank and Jones raised it from the back, that for me is making excuses for filmmakers who clearly didn't think about it.
Yeah, fair, yeah.
Because they could have so easily just made it a different ship. They also, in the flashback, they say that his real name isn't actually Jack Sparrow. That he got the name because of this particular incident in the flashback where he was shouting over to Salazar from the crow's nest, and he got the name Jack Sparrow because of that incident.
What is this fucking obsession right now with
about to ask
origins for fucking names? They do it in Solo as well, don't they?
Just let him have a cool name.
I just assumed that was his birth name.
Yeah, well, exactly. Why could it not be his birth name? Oh, because the whole thing suggests that his name became Jack the Sparrow, and then it was just Jack Sparrow. It's so... Oh, God,
so
I don't
lame.
like that film.
It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't add anything.
It doesn't.
I was watching Tangled on Disney Plus. They do the same thing.
Do they?
Flynn Rider, such a badass fucking name. No, he's called Eugene.
Why?
I mean, I'm pretty sure that there's some other part of it where he wants to be something else, so that's why he changed his name. I get it. But Jack Sparrow's a cool name. Let him be Jack Sparrow.
Yeah, why retcon it? You could just class that film. It's like the bloody Rise of Skywalker and the whole, sequel trilogy. Just consider them not canon.
Imagine if it turned out that Barbossa was just called Steve or something.
I mean, his name's Hector, so I don't know if that's any better.
I don't know, as a full name, that's cool. Hector Barbossa.
Yeah, I suppose.
It kind of works.
Steve Smith.
Steve Smith.
Something really generic. But no, anyway, right. So yeah, the flashback really annoys me because they obviously haven't watched their own films back. But yeah, no, anyway, so they find out where the Flying Dutchman is, and Will hops on board in search of Davy Jones, but there's all the men dying, and then Davy Jones shows up, and all of his fish people line the living people up, and we get a really cool bit where he gets in the guy's face, and he's like, "Do you feel dead?"
Do you feel dead? I love Bill Nye's delivery.
He's so
the whole way
perfect
through
in
this movie.
isn't he? Oh man,
do you feel that dark abyss?
So good. Did you know, right, he almost wasn't even the bad guy in this film. Originally, when they were writing this film, the plot was going to be about the journey to find the Fountain of Youth. That's what the second one was going to be about. Yeah. That's why in the third film, the Fountain of Youth actually pops up at the very, very end, and they talk about finding it. And it's on the map. Oh, what's that map called? I know what that map's called. Hold on. But you know the map I mean, the navigational charter things that they have in the third film. That's why
I don't really remember much of the third film. I remember it being a mess. Not gonna lie.
Well, yeah, they that's originally we're going to do the Fountain of Youth, and they were going to base it on the book On Stranger Tides, which the fourth one is based on. So, which is why...
Can we also take a minute to appreciate... Davy Jones looks really good.
He does.
Even today, he holds the fuck up.
Mm-hmm.
He does. Really good. There's actually a thing, none of you have seen it, obviously, but there's actually an after-credit scene in Salazar's Revenge which suggests he's still alive and is coming back. Because Will gets freed of his devotion to the Flying Dutchman and reunites with Elizabeth. Starts having like PTSD flashbacks in his sleep, and he sees Davy Jones come into the room, and then he wakes up. He's like, ah, and then it pans down, and there's some water and like those barnacle things that are all over him on the floor, and then it goes off, and you're like, oh, he's still alive. It's pretty shit. Anyway, so he gets on, doesn't he? And then Will tells Dave Jones he's here to settle his debt with Jack Sparrow. So Dave Jones fast travels over to the Black Pearl.
Nice.
And he tells Jack, he makes a deal with Jack where if he delivers 99 people to Jones in exchange for Jack's soul, then he doesn't have to spend his 100 years on the Dutchman. So Jones like slimes in Jack's hand, and the black spot disappears. And they're going to be traveling to Tortuga to get these 100 souls. At the same time, Elizabeth uses her dress to trick her superstitious shipmates into also traveling to Tortuga. So everyone goes to Tortuga and they're having a right old time. It's all fun and games and drunk and sex and drunk and killing and
Seems
Tortuga.
like a fun place.
Yeah, real place as well. It was a real place. And weirdly, you look at the history books, Port Royal was the same. But they depict Port Royal in this film as being very English and very controlled. But no, Port Royal in real life actually employed the help of pirates to protect it. So it became very much like this did. But the timeline of this film of all of these films is a complete mess on purpose. So you don't have to worry about it too much. So they go in, they get the recruits, don't they, in a tavern, and ex-Commodore Norrington, who had to step down from his post a couple months earlier, has become a drunkard. He kicks off, and they start fighting, and while Jack makes his escape, and Elizabeth, shows up, takes out Norrington. Elsewhere, Will is slaving away on the Dutchman, and he runs into his dad, and his dad's forced to give him like 500 lashes. No, 500. Jesus Christ,
just
that's
5.
a lot. That's like that's a lot of lashes. That's like death. That's like death sentence. 5 lashes, and they catch up. They start talking to each other, and then the wall comes alive and tells them that Davy Jones keeps the key on him at all times.
Does this? I'm reaching here, right? He's like a man made of coral, basically.
Yeah, so he's
connected to the wood of the boat.
Yeah.
Right? So that sort of make him a tree man, a sea tree man.
Is this for our list of trees?
Is this a tree? So right. Proposal for y'all. I think trees are really important, and I think it's wrong of us to rank the trees. So instead of a treeometer, I propose the Tree Hall of Fame.
Okay.
Right? And
I like it.
That man is my submission for this week's Tree Hall of Fame.
But he's not a tree.
But he's like a sea tree. Corals are like sea trees.
Sea tree. Yeah, okay, I'll give you that. Sea tree.
They're like plants in the ocean. They're like sea trees. And he's also connected to the wood of the ship. That used to be bark. That used to be trees. This is my submission.
Okay.
That's tenuous. That's... Ooh, I don't know.
Well, so it's either got to be him as my submission, or the tree that Davy Jones's crew member bumps into later. No, that's a
I was
tree.
thinking that one. Or the one that they run into when they're holding the chest and it bangs out the thing. Because
Those are good trees.
So.
Those are real trees. Like actual can be classified as a tree with leaves and roots and branches.
I think I've been outvoted here. I think it's the palm trees that's going in the Tree Hall of Fame.
Okay.
I think so.
Okay, well, palm trees. It's all good fun. The wall tells them where stuff's going down. And then the wall goes back to being a wall. And then, then we go back to Tortuga, don't we? And Elizabeth meets up with Jack, and he tells her that the only way to save Will is by finding the chest. The deceiving little bastard, isn't he? And by finding the chest, she can then use it to force Davy Jones into releasing Will from his crew. And then obviously Norrington joins the crew, and was it you guys I was talking about the other day with that bit at the beginning of DVDs, Disney DVDs, where it's the advert and he starts, "We've got a heading," and it's got
We have our heading. Here we go. Yeah, bro.
Fucking amazing. Love it. Whenever I hear that in this film,
I don't remember this.
Me neither.
What?
It's great. It was the start of all the home video shit.
Yeah, right. When you got like a DVD from Disney.
I mostly had Disney VHSs, so whatever the Disney VHS was.
I was going to say, me and you come from a very Disney-heavy family, dude.
Yeah.
This is why we know
lots
this
of
shit.
Disney DVDs, so yeah. I mean, basically the advert starts with that bit where Jack says, "We have our heading," and then here we
Peter
go.
Pan goes, "Here we
Peter.
go."
Yeah, it's amazing. Oh man, childhood. Anyway, yeah. So
again, we'll send it to you.
yeah, there you go, Steve. We'll get it on.
I'm sure it will have the same effect on me now as it's had
I
on
look
you
forward
guys.
to it.
Probably, yeah. It's very good. Right. What was it? Yeah, so the Flying Dutchman. We're back on the Flying Dutchman. Will challenges Davy Jones to play a game of Liar's Dice. Does anyone know how to
When
play
you were
Liar's
kids, did you fucking actually understand this game? Because it took me years to wrap my head around it.
I learned how to play this game because of this film.
God.
And I am yet to ever play an actual game of it outside of the first Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That's
Yeah.
my actual experience of playing it. Which I don't think it
Yeah.
works playing it in Red Dead because you really need, I think, that human kind of...
Yeah,
Because it's
you
called
really do,
Liar's
yeah.
Dice, but you can do just as much deceiving by telling the truth, which is what Davy
Yeah.
Jones does.
Yeah, so it's... oh god, we need to play it. It's such a fun game. I love it. I don't know who has that many dice, but... Good game. But yeah, anyway, Liar's Dice. So he bets David Jones that if he loses, he'll spend 100 years in servitude on the Dutchman. But if he wins, he gets David Jones's key. And then Bootstrap comes in, and because he doesn't want his son to be trapped on the Dutchman with him. And obviously, Bootstrap loses, and Will doesn't get trapped on the ship. But now we know that the only reason he did it is because he wanted to know where the key was. So him and his dad devise a plan where his dad distracts the man on deck while Will sneaks down to the captain's quarters and steals the key from Jones. In this nail-biting scene, Will has to move sleeping Davy Jones's tentacles around to get the key. Gets it though, so it's pretty sick. He does pretty good job. So with the key in his inventory, Will jumps overboard, but not before promising his dad he'll come back and save him from the Dutchman. Ironically, Will ends up on the merchant ship that Elizabeth stowed away on, and he finds a dress and realizing, she must have escaped. So, speaking of Elizabeth, she's back on the Pearl. She's having some weird thoughts about Jack, and the compass informs her that she wants him, and being a bit. She's like, "Oh, that's a problem." And
I feel like she wants him in the same way the audience does, though. It's that sense of being free and adventure and going out in the open oceans and claiming the world as your own.
Past him.
Nah, I was pointing at him, wasn't it?
Nah, you're not horny enough for this movie, clearly.
I don't think so.
Nah.
I always assumed they were it looks like it's pointing to Jack, and which is why she's like, oh, fuck. But actually, it was just pointing past him.
Bad. Yeah. Does anyone know as well? Fun fact. I mean, not much in this scene, but in the scene before, does anyone know why she had to dress like a guy when she stowed away in the ship? Obviously, she's trying to blend in.
Women weren't allowed, were they? They were considered bad luck, wasn't it?
Yeah, women were considered bad luck on ships. And there's lots of famous pirates. Two in particular, the most famous, Anne Bonny and Mary Read.
Yeah.
Anne Bonny not so much because she was dating and going out with the guy who eventually became the captain of the ship. But Mary Read, she posed as a man on the crew for a long time, and it wasn't until Anne Bonny figured out that she was a woman, and they had like a romantic relationship, that it came out as like she was a woman. But yeah, there you go. That's the biggest story of like women pretending to be men for pirates.
Isn't it wild, right, that sexist men kept women off of ships and starved themselves of sex so badly that they started to fantasize about half fish, half women people?
Pretty bad, innit? Yeah. But then, to make it worse though, those fantasies then became stories of beautiful half fish, half women, who would then lure you into the sea and kill you.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's not just, I saw a woman who in the sea. It's like, I saw a woman who's trying to kill me in the sea, trying to trick me into the sea. It's really weird. The whole pirate lore and folklore thing is really strange. There's lots to it. What was I up to? Oh yeah. So, obviously, Will's on the ship, isn't he? And then the Dutchman catches up to him, and they release the Kraken on him. And the Kraken. This is our first proper Kraken scene, isn't it? It's pretty Kraken. That was terrible.
Oh boy, that was
do
poor.
we
Poor,
hear?
That was bad, I know.
Do we hear the speech at this point, or is that later?
Which bit?
Is this? Hang on, I love it. So I've actually got it down here.
I think this is the release the Kraken bit. If that's the bit you're on about.
The let no joyful voice be heard. That one, where Davy Jones is saying,
I think this is because he
let
doesn't
no
say
man
it
look up to the sky with hope, and let this day be cursed by those we who are ready to wake. The Kraken. Is that this?
Yeah, I think that's this bit, because he doesn't say it at the end. He doesn't even say anything. He just has a cheeky smile when he released it on the Black Pearl. So I think that's this bit. Yeah, pretty sick. So the bit I love about this scene especially is the bit where the two tentacles come down, but the moment they make impact, the music like kicks in. It's like, it's fuckery.
The music's well good in this movie.
I love it, and whenever it happens on screen, I'm like, oh yes, thank you, Jesus. Beautiful. I love it. I'll give you another fun fact. The first thing I ever bought on iTunes was the At World's End soundtrack.
Oh my god.
And I still have it on there to this day. So.
You're something else, Joe. My God.
You know what I used to do?
Big pirate fan.
When I had my iPod Shuffle, I used to put the music on, because you couldn't use iPod Shuffles without headphones. So I stuck the headphone in, turned the volume right up so I could hear it through the headphones, and would play Pirates of the Caribbean on my Black Pearl ship.
Nice.
With the music playing.
Do you want to know why you love that music so much? Because it was actually composed by Hans Zimmer. So it makes sense.
So good.
So here's, if this makes you feel any better, it wasn't the first thing that I bought, but I did buy He's a Pirate on iTunes as one of my very early purchases, potentially like second or third purchases ever. If it makes you feel any better about your Sag Life choices, my first iTunes purchase ever was I purchased the Yu-Gi-Oh! Theme song. So yours probably was better.
I mean, my second wasn't any better. My first purchase as a whole was the soundtrack as a whole. My second purchase of an individual song was the fun song from SpongeBob. F is for friends who do stuff together. U is that was my second one. I was like 8 when this was happening as well.
Is this where your love of pirates came from? Was SpongeBob?
Maybe.
Just the captain at the start, just yelling, "Are you ready, kids?" That's where your love of pirates came from.
Did you ever see the that Power Rangers movie where the pirates at the start of it, they're on a pirate ship?
Oh man, no. What?
It's well good. Yeah, they've got a pirate ship and they've got cars inside the pirate ship.
Cars?
Yeah, it's a bad movie.
Alright. Okay, fair enough.
Carry on. That just popped into my head. And right back out again.
Anyway, Will survives the attack, obviously. But, Jones starts sweating a bit, doesn't he? Because they don't find his body. So they decide to sail to the Isle of Cruces. where the chest is buried. Unbeknownst to Jones, however, Will has been a bit cheeky and climbed aboard the Dutchman for a ride. Cheeky little boy. So, racing them to the island is the Pearl, where Jack and Elizabeth continue the somewhat harmless flirting. But the black spot reappears on his hand. And, I'm assuming that's because it's been 3 days since the deal's up. It doesn't really tell us.
Yeah, probably.
I must assume that it's an automatic thing. Like, Jones is just set to, automatic on his phone or whatever. Had it done automatic, I don't know. Like, when you set up a bank, I don't know, never mind. So they sail onto the land, don't they? And they begin the search for the chest. Meanwhile, the Dutchman arrives and, just in time to catch them doing it. And Will shows up to mix things up. All is revealed to the dialogue. Jack wants the chest to force Jones into calling off the Kraken, but Will wants to kill Jones so he can free his father. But then at the same time, Norrington throws himself into the mix and wants the chest so he can trade it with Beckett for his life back. It's a whole bloody mess. So they start fighting, and it's such a sick fight scene. I love fight scenes.
Great, isn't it?
Pirate fight scenes. So good. They're all like, fucking amazing. They fight on the beach, they fight in the forest, they fight in an old church, they fight on an old water wheel. It's a whole mad thing.
I love that scene so much.
I love it so much.
So much fun.
Whenever I think of pirate fight scenes, this is the scene that I think of. Just man. You know what's a really good pirate fight scene? The very last bit of Uncharted 4, when you got to fight. I don't know if anyone. I think I might have spoiled it.
I haven't played it.
I have played it, but it was a while ago.
At the very end, you have to fight someone with a cutlass, and it's fucking sick because you can feel how heavy they are, and then when they clang each other, there's sparks. Oh man, I want pirate films like that. It's well good. Anyway,
I need to replay that game.
I replayed it recently. It's amazing. Anyway, so meanwhile, while all that's going on, Pintel and Rigetti, they decide they need to remove the temptation of the chest from the situation. So, they nick it. And
I'd forgotten about those two.
Yeah.
The assistant regional manager.
Literally, yeah. There's actually lore to those as well. He's actually, the bald one, I think Pintel. I think Pintel's the bald one. He's actually, Rigetti's uncle. And that's why they know each other. Somewhere at some point, someone has decided that that's what the relationship is. But yeah, so Elizabeth goes and chases them, and they get attacked by fish people, and Will and Jack and Norrington are fighting while she deals with them. Shit hits the fan, and everything goes tits up, and it was a big long 20 minutes fight scene that. If I'd said every detail about it, would have been more boring.
Jack parries, but Norrington catches him.
Jack vaults off the roof, but Norrington decides he's got other plans. And but yeah. So anyway, so it all ends with them. They end up back on the beach, and Jack puts the heart into his jar of dirt, which I forgot to mention in the Tia Dalma scene. He gets a jar of dirt in that scene.
Do you remember that being a meme?
Yeah, I remember.
I got a
so good
remix.
Oh man, amazing. So he puts the heart in the jar of dirt, doesn't he? But then Norrington just so happens to notice the dirt, and he's like, so he nicks the heart, and he creates a diversion by running off with the chest so the others can escape. But obviously, he just ends up giving the chest back to them anyway because he knows the heart's not in there. So we're back on the Pearl. Everyone gets back to the Pearl. And just when all seems to have gone their way, boom, the Black Pearl... The Flying Dutchman appears. And it's okay, because Jack has his, jar of dirt. And we get that bit that everyone loves. I got a jar, and he falls down the stairs.
Ah, you slimy git. What I got?
God, so good. That's an improvised line as well.
Is it?
He did that, yeah.
It's a good line.
Oh, man.
It's a great line.
Good. It's a great line, I love it. So... Oh, right. I keep jumping in with these facts about my World Book Day costume. One thing I never did One thing I never did, but wanted to more than anything, was fill a jar of dirt and take it in with me. Just like a jar. It didn't have to be a realistic size. It could have just been a small jar, take it in, there's a bit of dirt in it, but my mum wouldn't let me. And I was like, oh, but Mum, she was like, no, you're not taking a jar of dirt into school. Like, oh my god. It's really sad. Never got to do that one, unfortunately. Maybe one day.
Maybe one day! What, you gonna come into work? In your costume with your jar of dirt?
School. World Book Day, just rocks up to some school, just to, like,
rock in that thing.
Jack.
Hello.
Start showing kids his jar of dirt.
You know how schools, because schools are like really attached to like legacy and shit, right? So one day when obviously we're mega star A-list celebrities because we talk about movies, your school will invite you back and you should rock up as Jack Sparrow.
I will. But like, I don't even know what I'd say. I'd be like, you know what? I used to be able to talk like Jack Sparrow, but the skills lost on me now.
I guarantee he looked like this.
You know what? 100%. I need to find the picture. I'm sure my mum has it somewhere. I'll see if I can find the picture. I bet I don't even know if it's on anything. It'll be on something somewhere. Oh man, I reckon that I feel like my mum put it on Facebook when I turned 18.
Should we message her? Should we message her now? Jacob, are you logged into the Instagram? Can you message Joe's mum?
Genuinely.
No, don't.
Do it. If you don't, I will.
No, I'll get it later. Don't worry about it. It's all good.
Okay. If not, you have a week. With those. If we haven't got it for the next show, I'll message it on the show.
I have 3 days to do it. To deliver 100 pictures of me as Jack Sparrow.
Man.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway. So, Jones gets really pissed off, doesn't he? Fires on the Pearl. But they manage to outrun her. They think the Dutchman's given up. Or so they think. I made weird eye contact with the camera there when I said that. So, they're celebrating, and comes a bit too early, said celebrating, because Jones releases the Kraken, and you get that thump, don't you, when the thing goes down and Jack's jar falls over the edge and it smashes. Yeah. And obviously the heart is absent. Will, knowing what this particular thump was, he gets the men to line up the cannons, and they fire on the tentacles as they're coming up the side. So, fun fact for you, the people who animated the tentacles had no idea how to do it because there's obviously no real-world inspiration for a massive squid. They could have used normal squids. Yeah. But what they used...
Octopuses.
Context, yeah.
And hentai, lots of venues for...
God. You went there, Sam, you went there. Anyway.
If it was going to be any one of us.
I suppose, yeah.
Yeah, but surely they had this amazing t-shirt design to go on.
Whoa.
What is that? Why is there Jar Jar Binks in it?
That's Jar Jar Binks.
Uniqlo in the sale at the minute. I was going to get it for Zach as a joke. It's £5.
I was just going to say, how the fuck did you... It's £5! That shit.
But no, right.
So I don't know why I thought of that as soon as, you guys said about squid tentacle hentai. That came into my mind.
I mean, he's not far off, is he?
Jar Jar Binks hentai.
George got that idea from somewhere, so it's only safe to assume. But no, the thing they actually use as reference was an old King Kong movie or something from or was it Godzilla or something from the 50s or the 60s, where they just put a squid over a miniature city.
Would they not just use 20,000 Leagues or something? That's got a big squid in it.
You'd think. I don't know why they said that there's no reference, because there's lots of references.
That's their own film as well, so they'd be able to go back into the archives.
Anyway.
I mean, in a more positive note, I love that you never get a good look at it. Ever.
Yeah. I mean, I had the Mega Box release a toy of it, so I do know what it looks like. But in the film, you don't see what it looks like, so that's nice. I mean, you
it's
do kind of in the next
the
one,
most you get is the mouth at the end, but even that, it leaves it to your imagination how much extends behind that, what it looks like in full. And I always appreciate that.
You do
whatever you can conjure in your head is more frightening than whatever they can animate in CGI.
there is a bit in At World's End because Jones has to kill it, doesn't he? When Beckett takes over the ship and stuff, and they find it on an island.
In the only two things I remember from that movie are Diorama becoming a water lady and 100 Jack Sparrows. Everything else is fucked off.
Oh well, they find it dead on an island, and you still don't really see it. It's very big, so it's all very up close. But it's dead in the next one. But that's the most you see it outside the water, I think. Well, that's the only time you see it outside the water. But that's the most of it you see. You get a real sense of how massive it actually is. But right up to. Yeah. So obviously they blow holes into its arms and shit, and it doesn't kill it, and they have to come up with another plan before it comes back. So they decide to blow it up. The Kraken attacks again while they're piling up the explosive into that net, and Elizabeth notices Jack has ran off. He's taken one of the last boats, and he's sailing off back to the Isle of Cruces. And but he has a bit of a dilemma. He looks at his compass, and maybe it's finally worked for him, or spoiler, it does actually work for him. And he gets there just as the explosives get pulled up, and Will gets tangled in the net. Jack reappears in time for Will to cut himself free and shoots the barrel, detonated them, and making some tasty calamari out of the Kraken's arms.
Is it calamari uncooked? Isn't it raw?
It's sushi. Sushi is raw.
I've had it cooked.
You can have cooked calamari. Have you ever had sushi? Have you ever had squid? It's tasty.
Yeah,
very sweet.
No, I don't think so.
Do you know what? It tastes like prawn. It's very sweet.
There's a surprise.
Yeah.
I refused to try it because it disappointed me once at work when these little crispy things came over onto the table when we went to that dark place, and I was like, oh, chicken! And someone took a bite and was like, oh my god, it's my squid! And I was like...
Alright, so that's it. That's just the thing, Amelia, is typically when it's prepared, it doesn't look like... Everyone has this assumption that they're going to dump a fucking slimy little squid on your plate. And sometimes you can get that, but most of the time it's crispy and it doesn't look like squid. Yeah.
It looks like onion rings most of the time I've had it.
Yeah, and it's tasty. I know you're a fussy eater, but I would still recommend trying it.
Maybe I will.
I think
it doesn't even fully taste like prawn is almost an unfair. It's kind of like prawn, like crisp. You know, like Skips.
No, I wouldn't say
there
that.
We are. Okay, there we are. It kind of tastes like Skips.
Oh no, I don't think it does.
I don't think it does.
Skips.
I hate Skips.
Okay, right. Honestly, I'm about halfway through this rum. I don't fucking know what's going on anymore.
Jesus Christ, Sam.
Speaking of which,
I've tried Scampi.
No.
It's not like Scampi.
I've had Scampi.
Scampi's a bit...
It's just,
I don't know.
It just tastes
not
like
as much
fish.
flavour.
It's nice. It tastes like fish. We'll leave it at that.
What we should do after the lockdown is we'll all go out. Outtakes outing to Yo Sushi, right?
I love no sushi.
And we'll try little bits and bobs and shit. It'd be great.
Fish. Good stuff. So, God, anyway, what was I up to? Oh yeah,
fucking no. Jack had just shot the tentacles.
Yeah. So they said the best thing to do is to just abandon the ship, and what little people are left climb aboard the little dinghy. But Elizabeth knows that the Kraken is coming after him, and they're not gonna, they're not coming after them. They're coming after him. So she tricks him by kissing him, and she handcuffs him to the mast. Will, he sees this. And, naturally thinks Elizabeth loves Jack. Big sad for him. But Jack... Yeah, big sad situation. Anyway, Jack escapes his cuffs just in time for the Kraken to roar at him one last time. And then the Kraken brings down the ship down to Davy Jones' locker with him on board. I'll tell you, right, this scene... I would have been 7 when this came out, when I watched this in the cinema. And I cannot tell you how shocked I was watching this.
100%.
Because I left being like, they can't do that. They can't leave it on a cliffhanger. Films don't do that. That's a TV show thing. I was so baffled by the fact that they'd done it. And, right, has anyone ever seen that episode of Simpsons where Homer comes out of The Empire Strikes Back and he's like, oh my god, I can't believe Darth Vader's Will's dad. Fucking hell. Can't believe Darth Vader's Luke's dad. But he says it around the crowd of people waiting to go into the film.
Yeah.
I did that to... it wasn't this film, but at the end of... At World's End, Will becomes the captain of the Flying Dutchman.
Yeah.
And as I came out of that film, I was past the people waiting to go in and went, I can't believe Will becomes the captain of the Flying Dutchman at the end. Really loud. And then my mum looked and all the people were looking at me. So... It's a bad city.
Fuck you, pirate kid.
Literally bad. I said it so loud, and they all definitely heard me say it.
Were you wearing like a little pirate bandana and?
Probably, yeah, I probably was. I definitely
you probably would have been like, you know how we're Happy Meal boxes, you can like pop off the bottom of it and it becomes a pirate hat or something. Probably what he had going in.
Probably. I would have definitely dressed in something. I could tell you that. But yeah, so Jones watches the pearl go down, but he's a bit like, uh-oh. So he gets one of his men to open the chest, where he finds the heart is gone. We already knew anyway, so it's not big of a shock. So back in Port Royal, one James Norrington arrives with the heart of Davy Jones, and he has the signed letters of Mark, and essentially he trades them for, to be pardoned from his previous crimes. Man's got his job back. Good stuff. And he does have his job back in the next one. I think he gets a promotion as well. I think he becomes an admiral. I can't remember. But, meanwhile, our favourite pirate crew are being all mopey and depressed. And they're over at Theodolma's crib. And, Will's, ruining her table with his knife. And Elizabeth's feeling kind of guilty about, feeding Jack to the big fish. Will mistakes her being sad for love, and tells her that if there was any way to bring him back, then he would. He's been really what's the word? He's being really.
He's a cook.
He's been really nice. Yeah.
Will Turner's really a cook.
Nice about,
he's like, you know what? If it makes my girl happy, I'll bring her sideman back.
It's so weird, isn't it? He's like, oh man, we were going to get married, but you love him, so I suppose don't worry about it. Forget our marriage, don't worry about it. It's really, he's been weird. But anyway,
I actually wish to explain that, just for any cunts out there, I'm using the word cook ironically, you're a dick. Moving on.
Yeah, fair enough. Anyway, Theodolma jumps in, and she informs them that there is a way to bring Jack back. But, and I'm going to quote, I love this line so much, so I'm going to quote it. She tells them that if they plan to go and brave the weird and haunting shores at World's End, then they're going to need a captain who knows those waters. And then obviously, we know who that captain is. Big reveal. It's the once dead but now alive Captain Barbossa. And he's revealed, and his line always gives me a smile, and he says his line, it goes off, you got the classic Pirates of the Carribean theme, and the film ends, and I was so sad in the cinema because I didn't want it to end, but it did, and then I watched it a year later, and God, what a film. Oh, and then there's the after credit scene of the dog sat on the throne in the Cannibal Island, but...
I had a minor argument with Charlotte because she was like, oh my god, they're going to kill the dog. And I was like, well, no, there's an after credit scene where it's fine because it's the chief. And she was like, well, that means they're going to eat it. And I was like, yeah, but it doesn't die in the movie. This was the 1800s. Technically, it's been dead for ages.
Is that dog the dog with the keys?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because is the dog with the keys in the first one, which is based on the ride, because there is a dog with the keys in the ride. And then he comes to the island with Pintel and Ligeti at the beginning. And then they chase him away when they lose Jack. But then the dog reappears. I mean, they suggest that it's the same dog. It could be a different dog. But they all look at it like, oh my god, that dog's still alive. In the third film, it shows up when they go to the Brethren Court. And Jack Sparrow's dad pops up and he has the keys in his mouth. So, it's suggested that maybe that dog survived the cannibals. Man's a pretty nifty
My guy
dad, you
ate
know.
the cannibals.
He did. He pushed them
Well,
into
that's
the
it.
fire.
So, I don't even think they killed the dog because after Jack, they would have been like, well, either we have to accept that we were wrong or that he was a god. And I reckon they probably accepted that he was a god. So they probably didn't eat the dog.
I imagine probably did, yeah. I imagine...
What's dog backwards?
God. Oof. Well, there you go.
Just saying.
There you go.
Oh, amazing.
Man.
That was Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Man's Chest. What we're going to do now is go round in a circle and give it any final thoughts we have on the movie and give it an individual score out of 10. And then I am going to use Matt to get an overall score out of 100. And we're going to see where it ranks on our list to the best to worst movies of all time. Amelia, kick us off.
Yes, I'll keep it short and sweet because we're nearly at 2 hours. This film's part of my childhood, you know, me and my brother watched it, and they're fun movies, you know, like say no movie's perfect, you could pick apart the bloody, like, Marvel franchise, but, like, they're fun to watch, and it had some heckin' good merchandise as a kid, so out of 10, I'm going to give this one a 7.
7. Cool. Fair. Jacob?
So this was the first Pirates of the Caribbean movie I watched, which means that so much of it's just, wait, what? What's this?
Oh.
What's happening? None of this person made any sense to me the first time I watched it.
Did it
Having
not
rewatched it,
excite you, though? Did it not interest you? Like, ooh,
was
I
like,
wonder
well,
who they are.
who's that guy? And then
Oh,
I
so
would
did
go
you
back
not-
and watch it and go, oh, so that's who that guy was. But I wouldn't realise that
So
it was that
when-
guy until I then would rewatch this one or see it again eventually.
So when you watched the bit with Will's dad, when Bootstrap first appeared, and he said Bootstrap Bill Turner, that was nothing to you. It was like alright, that's his name. That's a
he
cool
said
name.
Turner, and I was like, well, I know that the other guy is Will Turner.
Oh shit! Yeah, okay, fair enough. I'll give you that. But did you assume then that he does say later in that dialogue that it's his son? But did you assume that it was his dad?
What, Will Turner's
they-
dad?
Yeah,
Yeah,
because they
'cause,
do
like,
mention him as being Will Turner's dad.
Yeah,
in
that
the first
one's
film.
pretty clear. I think
I
think
got that
he's
one.
more.
It was-
You're probably more talking about like the compass and
Yeah,
who Beckett is and
why all the Matt and Barbosa at the end and all the...
yeah.
It didn't...
Oh yeah, you don't
So-
know who Barbosa is?
Watching this for the first time, it was like, what? So then every time I've rewatched it since, it's just been a bit wet. Because it's never really had the
Because
same
it's in the
impact.
sea.
Because it's in the sea. It never had the follow-on impact. I didn't watch it as a sequel. This was the first thing I watched.
Yeah.
And I wasn't a pirate kid as a kid. And I don't think it's my favourite pirate film. I think my favourite pirate film is probably going to be Captain Phillips. So
Fair enough.
Oh yeah.
I still enjoyed it. It still looks good. CGI is still good. There's still some like really iconic moments in it. Probably only a 6 from me.
6. Joe?
I'm just biased. I love this film so much that I find it very difficult to find anything wrong with it. So
Yeah.
I can watch this film on repeat, and I think I've said that about something recently as well. I don't know what it was.
Treasure
I think
Planet?
it's Back to the Future.
Probably.
No, it's Back to
Oh,
the
Back
Future.
to the
I said.
Future.
I can watch that on repeat as well. But it's the same kind of thing. It's the same thing. Like I can watch this on repeat, and I can watch it over, and I love every single time. I know exactly what the story is. I didn't even have to watch it. I had it open on my computer, but to write the thing out for this, I didn't have to watch it that much. I just played it every once in a while and skipped a scene. I didn't have to it's just, I love it so much. I'm actually just going to give it a 10 because I fucking love it so much.
10.
It's so good.
So, I'm probably not going to be as generous as you, although I do also love it. It's hard to ignore that there is some pretty frequent lazy cinematography in this. A lot of pretty flat lighting to no lighting at all, affecting
I find
some
that
of
the
the shots.
beginning is really good. The cinematography in the beginning and the shots and the lights.
Yeah!
And then it kind of dies down a bit near the end.
The little macro shots of the cups with the water hitting them. It
opens
stunning.
really well.
But yeah, later on it gets pretty bad, and the framing's not particularly inspiring. And it's worth noting now that this movie has a lot of the same problems as all Part 1 movies have now. You know, of being like constant setup to the payoff that is Part 2. However, when this movie came out and when I first watched it, Part 1 movies weren't quite as big as... Well, they're not even big anymore, but like in the sort of mid-2000s, everything felt like it had to have a Part 1 and a Part 2, you know? So it
especially
felt...
the last, if it was a trilogy, the last bit would have a Part 1 and 2, yeah.
So it still felt kind of fresh, and I can't say I noticed... I mean, I was a child, you know? I'm kind of biased because as a child, you don't know things are bad. I did enjoy X-Men 3. Because, Wolverine and Cyclops and, you know, it didn't really matter. You know, I was a child. It was enough. But I can't say I noticed them as heavily. I was into the idea of the world. I was really excited and enthralled by the pirate sense of adventure. The music is amazing. I love the characters. I'm not going to go as high as you, Joe, but I am going to give it a 9. Because it is still one of my favorite movies ever. Honestly, it's not very technically good, but it really, really inspired me. And I remember watching a lot of things as a kid, being like, wow, holy shit, I want to... It kind of did inspire me to get into film, because I was excited by how they did what they did. Which gives it an overall score of... Oh, man. 80 out of 100. This is our most, like, common score, I think.
Brilliant.
So, got to go around in a circle and start asking questions. Amelia, do you prefer Dead Man's Chest or Beetlejuice?
Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice. Goes to win the most. Jacob.
Beetlejuice.
Whoa, 2.
Joe.
Dead Man's Chest.
Dead Man's Chest. I think I'm going to go with Dead Man's Chest as well. We have host bias in play, which gives it the perspective to go up in the ladder, which I now have to ask again. Amelia, Dead Man's Chest or Monsters, Inc.?
Monsters Inc. because I know more about it. And then, yeah.
Jacob?
Yeah, Monsters, Inc.
Joe?
You need to obviously Dead Man's Chest.
Okay. I'm sorry to announce that I think when I really think about it, Monsters Inc. takes the number there for me. Which places film, so. Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Man's Chest as the 9th greatest movie of all time. That's still a very good score. It's still in the top 10 for now.
For now.
For now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that brings us to the most important part of the show, and that's finding out what we're going to be watching next week. It's my go, and I've got a bit of a bit planned for this, but I am a little bit pissed. So I'm hoping I can do it first time, right? So
see how this goes.
So it's no secret that as we record this in April of 2020, early April of 2020, things are pretty crazy, you know, and we like to try and escape from the ongoings of the world, but it's fine because I have a plan. And here's the plan. What we're going to do is we're going to get the car, go to Mum's, kill Phil. Sorry, Phil. Go to Liz's, get Liz, and then we're going to go to the Winchester, have a nice cold pint, and wait for all of this to blow over.
That better not be whiskey.
Shaun of the Dead.
Love it.
Cool.
Sorry, Joe. I know you're not tremendously excited about this.
It's fine.
Right, amazing. So that was... My head is actually spinning. I've drunk way too much rum.
How long have you had that pint just sat on the side there?
What do you know what fucking beer it is as well?
Hey.
I have so many of those in my fridge, you know. Like,
do you know what? I don't even fucking like beer at all, but I am now so drunk that it's pretty tasty. Nice, golden, delicious.
That's the point right there.
Warm Corona.
Honey,
you get to a point.
Tasting.
You get to a point and then it just kind of like, you can't taste it anymore, so you just drink as much as you want from then.
Yeah.
It's fine, that's how it works. There you go. Circle of life.
Thanks very much for joining us on this episode of Dead Man's Chest. This is bad, man.
So I can't wait to see the shit show this ending is going to be.
Can we, if we ever cover, like, the world's end, can we do it? Can we do 12 pints over the course of the show?
Yeah. Easy.
Every time they enter a new pub, while we go through the description, we have to do another pint. That can only go well, I assume.
What, like 2 hours? That's a lot of pints.
Jesus, we might die. We probably have to really pace it. Man.
What if we started like several pints in?
Nah, right. Okay, what if we just took like break? This is unimportant. This is admin. We were still doing a show. Thanks very much for joining us on this Dead Man's Chest episode of the Outtakes Movie Podcast. Don't forget to follow us on social media by searching for The Real Outtakes on Twitter and Instagram. Leave a like, a comment, and a subscribe if you've enjoyed the show. You can rate us on all your favourite podcasting apps. Speaking of, we are on all your favourite podcasting apps by searching for The Outtakes Movie Podcast. We are also on the YouTube where you can check out our beautiful faces by searching for the exact same. This is always the bit where I fail. See you, bye.
Yeah.
I don't know a pirate bye.
There's no pirate bye, is there? Yeah.
To that point, Sam, that's the smoothest you've ever done the outro.
Nice.
You should
all I
get
need to
pissed
do
and
is
do it
get
more often.
shit-faced and, yeah.